So your kunekune's pregnant and you're not sure what to do next. So I had friends over the other day and we were looking down at the pigs and she said, "Oh, is that pig pregnant?" And I went, I don't think so. And then I looked closely and actually I realised, 1, she was pregnant, and 2, she was going to have babies really soon. How do you know your pig's about to have babies? Well, 1, they grow these absolutely massive udders, and usually that is a good sign that they're going to have babies probably within a week, if not sooner. They develop a milky discharge within 24 hours of them giving birth. A pregnant sow will change shape, and before she has her baby she does sort of drop, but it's less obvious in a pig than it is in other animals like a goat or a sheep. And probably the biggest sign that they're about to have babies is they start nesting. So nesting is usually within 24 hours they're going to have their babies, and sometimes it's quick, make a nest, I'm in labour. When she started making her nest, that's when we knew to start watching her a lot more closely. Farrowing pen needs to consist of a shelter that needs to be protected from the predominant cold wind. Hopefully it will also let some sun in so they can bathe in the sunlight. It will need a pen which will limit the amount of space the mother has so that she will have her babies in the shelter rather than outside somewhere. And if they do choose to have their babies outside somewhere, you're best just to leave her be until they're all born and then usher them into the shelter. We didn't put a crush rail in ours. Kunekunes, generally speaking, don't need a crush rail because they're smaller sows, but you're welcome to put one in, particularly if you're going to be using a heat lamp. A crush rail can be really helpful to keep the mum out from around the lamp. For bedding, we chose to use straw. Because that's what we had. You can also use like wood shavings, pine shavings. Just be aware of too much dust, it can affect their lungs. They like to use their mouths to build their nest, so something that they can pick up and move around. When you're setting up a farrowing area for your kunekunes, give her plenty of bedding, but just be aware that too much straw, the piglets can get lost in it. So be sure that she's firmed it down, and I wouldn't be giving her like a whole bale of straw. We've only given her a couple of big bunches, and once she'd made a nest, I gave her another bunch so that she could fiddle with that as well. Be sure to situate your farrowing pen somewhere that you can access easily. Hopefully somewhere close to the house so that you can pop down and see them quite often. Out in the run we've got a deep bedding system where we'll just keep adding extra dry wood mulch to soak up her poops and peas and keep it nice and clean in there. And then of course she has a big barrel of water which is full of clean water that we've added a big cupful of apple cider vinegar just as a health tonic. So the metal that we've made her pen from, I think they're called handy panels or something like that. We can't get hog panels like what you can in the US. So these are actually small sized reinforcing steel for concreting. Between them and some waratahs, they make quite a sturdy fence. We've used a whole lot of scrap iron and some bits of wood that we had lying around. The weather's relatively mild here at the moment, so we're not going to bother with a heat lamp with these babies, but we will keep an eye on it. If snow happens to turn up in the forecast again, we will run a heat lamp out there. Usually kunekune pigs give birth without trouble, but if you've noticed that labour has slowed down or that she is really struggling, sometimes a piglet will get stuck. It's quite normal for some of them to come out back feet first, that's not a problem. But if you notice that she hasn't given birth, if her previous ones have been sort of within 10 minutes of each other, if it's been 20 to 30 minutes since a piglet has passed, it's really worth going in and having a wee bit of a look. Sometimes the piglets do get a little bit stuck. So you need clean gloves and some lubrication of some sort, and a pinch, some soapy water will do. Pop your wee fingers in there and see what you can feel. And sometimes you do need to, with a contraction, give a bit of a tug. Thankfully, kunekunes are not prone to having birthing issues, and really thankfully, Straw managed it well all by herself. Usually a pig will clean up well after the birth as well, and they will eat the placenta and any of the other birthy bits that are left lying around. They are rather negligent mothers. They usually don't bother licking the piglets or anything. The piglets rub themselves dry on the straw scrambling around, and sometimes they'll try and feed while she's trying to give birth. And if she's super distracted and she's getting clumsy, or the piglets are at risk of getting trod on while she's trying to give birth, feel free to gather them all up and return them to her when she's finished. This is Straw. She is a first-time mother and she is a pure kunekune. So this is the first litter she's ever had. but she's done a wonderful job. She had the babies with no problems whatsoever, and she's cleaned them all up. We've seen her lying down and feeding them, and she's got 6 healthy little bubbers. Now that she's had her babies, we're just going to keep a really close eye on her and make sure that they're feeding well, that she's got plenty of fresh water, and we'll give her grain twice a day for the next few weeks, because she's going to need that high calorie food to feed these babies. She also gets plenty of fresh greens, and we bring them to her. Once it stopped raining and the ground firms up a little bit, they'll be let back out into the orchard, which has lots of lush grass growing at the moment, but you can see the amount of damage they did before we penned them up. The outside of the whole orchard is also wrapped in chicken wire, so once they get out of their pen, they actually can't get out of the orchard. The only thing we have to watch out for are the hawks and the falcon. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have, hit the like button, and I will see you in the next one.